went to bleeding races. 'Twas on the 9th of June 1862 on a summer's afternoon. I took the bus to Banbury's and she was heavy laden. Away we went along Collingwood Street, that's on the road to Bleeding.
You're watching Toon Army TV. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I would just want to say thank you very much for 2,800 subscribers. I did reach that the other day. Without your support, that's not possible. I'm now trying to reach 2,900 subscribers. So if you can keep liking the video, keep smashing that subscribe button, keep sharing it with your friends and your family and getting the word out, then that is possible. I am trying to reach 3,000 subscribers by July this year, and that is only possible with your support. Follow my social medias, all links down below in the description, Instagram and Twitter, Toon Army TV. So as you can see in the title, 20 reasons why Mike Ashley should give up Newcastle United Football Club. 20 mistakes that Mike Ashley has made as Newcastle United owner, and reasons why Mike Ashley should no longer keep running this football club to the ground. Now, of course, there's probably more than 20 reasons and 20 mistakes that Mike Ashley has made as Newcastle United owner. Please let me know those down below in the comments. I just don't want the video dragging on as long as it has. But I will get into them in no particular order. Of course, Mike Ashley bought the football club in 2007 from Sir John Hall in 2007 and has owned the club ever since. There's been so many false promises. Bridges have been burnt with the fans and will never be rebuilt ever again. And now is the time for Mike Ashley to leave. And with the club potentially going through an alleged takeover from Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, why not do a video of the mistakes that Mike Ashley has made as owner, for those who don't really know too much about Newcastle United Football Club, for those who don't really support the club and want to know more about Mike Ashley's poor ownership of the football club. So, starting with number 1, Kevin Keegan being forced to resign in 2008. So Mike Ashley appointed Kevin Keegan as manager in 2008 around January. He came back for the second time. He replaced Sam Allardyce. He only lasted 8 months. So going into the new 2008-9 season, it got to the summer window where players were being sold behind his back. James Milner, for example, left the club, and players were being bought and brought in behind his back who he didn't really have too much idea about, and unfortunately he wasn't happy. He didn't share what Mike Ashley was doing and he decided to walk away, resign, and that which led to the disaster of our first relegation in 08-09, and that didn't go down too well with the fans and hasn't been looked upon as a great move by Mike Ashley today. Number 2, appointing Joe Kinnear to replace Kevin Keegan in 2008. Joe Kinnear was never really popular choice with the fans. He didn't really have that experience. He did manage with AFC Wimbledon, but he didn't really do too well that season. Didn't have the experience of the Premier League, and he did come back in 2013. He didn't continue on as manager in the 08-09 season because he had to go to hospital, but in 2013 he came back as sports director, and we all know what happened there. You know, he couldn't pronounce the names of the players. Ben Afra, Johan Kebab, I could name so many, Derek Lambisi, and he was just an utter embarrassment to the football club. Number 3, renaming St James's Park to Sports Direct Arena. That should never be renamed. It should always be St James's Park. It's always known as St James's Park, the iconic stadium. It is the main stadium in the North East, the biggest stadium in the North East. It's had the biggest matches played, at St James's Park. It's known worldwide. It's had some of the world's biggest names, at St James's Park. And to call it a Sports Direct Arena is an utter sin. You should not be doing that for your own financial gain. And it was an utter embarrassment, to be calling that the Sports Direct Arena. Number 4, the 2 relegations in 2009 and 2016. And what really annoyed me about these 2 relegations is poor managers, poor decisions by Mike Ashley. We had some big name players but weren't good enough, weren't really pulling their weight, and too many players being sold, too many players being brought in with a lack of experience. And for me, Mike Ashley didn't learn off the first one in 2009. So many bad appointments over the time, and the same happened in 2016, spending 80 million on players and not really seeing the results from that. Number 5, hiring John Carver with no experience. Yes, he did have that relationship with Sir Bobby Robson, but unfortunately didn't have the Premier League experience. He didn't manage in the Premier League before, or the Championship, or League One or League Two. Had a stint in the MLS, but he come in, and Pardew, when he left for Crystal Palace, left the club in a good position. He only had to win a few games, but somehow he lost 8 games in a row. He famously come out and said, "I am the best manager in the Premier League." We lost 8 games in a row, and he left it to the last game of the season against West Ham, where Jonas Gutierrez, who was battling cancer at the time, God rest his soul, he saved us from relegation, and the poor treatment of Gutierrez that season was all there to see. A legend at the football club, Spider-Man. Number 6, the hiring of Steve McClaren. Now, Steve McClaren in 2016 was a poor appointment. After the disappointment with John Carver, Steve McClaren tarnished his reputation a long time ago, with England. He had the golden generation, didn't quite get them, into the tournament. That was utterly embarrassing. You had the likes of Gerrard there. Yes, granted, he won the League Cup with Middlesbrough in 2004, the latest, North East club to actually win something, a domestic title or trophy. But the fact he didn't do much in the Championship with the likes of QPR, Derby, and he comes into Newcastle and gets 80 million. He's turned one down before, but then again, the fans didn't want him because of what he'd done with England, and he completely failed. Give us 5 games, give us 10 games. He got till March, and I think he was sacked far too late. He should have been sacked after we lost to Crystal Palace. Now, number 7, selling Andy Carroll to Liverpool for 35 million. Andy Carroll, pretty much made his name in the Championship, was given the number 9 shirt, one of our own. We won the Championship. We then obviously got back into the Premier League under Chris Hughton. He was sold on deadline day in January 2011 to Liverpool, and we didn't have enough time to reinvest that money into another striker to try and maybe continue our push, in our first season back in the Premier League since being relegated the first time. And it didn't go down too well. We had the likes of Shola Niobe, Leon Best, not really good options, to the fact we had to get, an emergency signing of Shefty Kuchi, and that was utterly embarrassing. Now, number 8, letting Rafa Benitez go in 2019, last season. He came in 2016, one of the biggest managers, one of the biggest names Mike Ashley will probably have ever employed, as owner of this football club, and he's left him to rot. He come in, he tried to keep the club up, he picked up the mess, he managed to stay in the Championship, he got us promoted, got us into the Premier League a couple of seasons, working under a shoestring budget. He was asking Mike Ashley to try and move the club forward. He wouldn't do that. He got a 10th place and a 13th place finish, and unfortunately Mike Ashley, as we all know, is greedy, only thinks about himself, and he walked away, and that's where fans, grew very disinterested, with the club now, and have walked away, and you can see that with the results and also the management. The fans turned up to the ground. It's only 43,000, and that speaks for itself. Number 9, Chris Mote, Derek Lambias and Lee Charnley. These guys running the football club aren't good enough. They're not really connected to the football club. Derek Lambias, for one, didn't have any footballing knowledge. Mike Ashley, was meant to be of getting these guys to advise and trying to help them out, and you would say yes, he was let down by these guys, but they don't speak to the fans, and when you don't speak to the fans and you lose that connection, that is a big mistake. Number 10, Mike Ashley has neglected the training ground and the stadium for the past 13 years. We've seen nothing. We've seen wheelie bins and paddling pools for players to warm down in when you've got some of the best training facilities up and down the country in the Championship, League One, League Two. The stadium, is all over the place. It could do with some painting. Yes, it's been sort of painted this season, but where has that been in the last 13 years? Around the stadium, there's rot all over the place. It's disgusting. Number 11, Wonga, the sponsor. Now, for me, I thought it was a very tacky sponsorship. I thought it was cheap, and we had to use that to try and get our name back to St James's Park. We should never, ever be using a payday lender to try and get our stadium to be renamed back to St James's Park. It should never have been changed to start with. Don't get us wrong, I appreciate what Wonga have done, but I've just found it to be a cheap, tacky sponsor. Yes, I appreciated the look of the top in the Championship, but to have a speech bubble smacked on your top, it's just cheap as hell, and it's no good. And was it really giving the club that sort of money to invest in better players? Definitely not. Number 12, Thurloff and non-playing staff and opening up his Sports Direct when we're in a pandemic. For me, utterly wrong. You should definitely not be further off in, you know, the non-playing staff when there's Newcastle players are earning 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a week. You've got Matty Longstaff earning 800 quid a week and he's still donating money to the NHS. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely disgusting. And the fact he's wanting to keep his Sports Direct shops open because he thinks they're essential, for me, again, it's all down to greed. The man is a greedy bugger. Now we're going to move on to number 13. Selling our better players for more money. Andy Carroll, 35 million quid. Johan Gabay, Ben Arthur, Sissoko, Wijnaldum, not getting better players in. And this is why we're not achieving anywhere in the league. We're stuck in mid-table or we've been relegated. We're never progressing, you know, in the cup competitions. We're not progressing in the league. We've had one 5th place finish, you know, in the space of 13 years. Not good enough. Number 14, again, not taking the cup seriously enough. We've had one quarter-final in the space of 14 years, and that's this season under Steve Bruce. Any other time we've just gone out the League Cup or the FA Cup in the 3rd or 4th round. Defeats the likes of Stevenage. Utterly embarrassing. For a club of our stature, we should not be going out the competitions that quickly. If we're not going to win the Premier League, at least give, you know, the FA Cup or the League Cup a go. If Wigan and Swansea can win it, why can't Newcastle United? You know, the proof is in the pudding. Even Sunderland got a trip to Wembley in 2014. Number 15, Shearer'S Bar was renamed 9 Bar, which for me is utterly disgusting. It was Shearer's for a reason. The fact he was a number 9, the club's all-time best number 9 ever. The fact he was the club's all-time top goal scorer, local lad, the Premier League's all-time top goal scorer. Why can't we have a bar named after Shearer? For me, utterly disgusting. 9 Bar for me, again, has turned into Sports Direct. Now we're going to move on to number 16. Mike Ashley laughing, you know, at the squad when it's playing. You know, we could be winning, losing, or even drawing a game, and he's still laughing his head off at the fact that the fans, you know, putting the money into the football club, supporting the club. And if it wasn't for us having such a good, you know, loyal support, Mike Ashley would have left a long time ago, because we do, you know, care about the football club. And if you're going to laugh, you know, at the fans who are turning up, and you can see why they're throwing a bruise at you, because you don't care, you know, about the football club. If you don't care about the football club, please just leave. Number 17, the club shop has turned into Sports Direct. A lot of club shops up and down the country will sell things which belong to the football club. So, for example, Manchester City, Man City gear, Liverpool gear. In Newcastle, it's literally sell Barcelona kits, Inter Milan kits, England kits, Man United kits, when it's a Newcastle United club shop. No wonder fans have boycotted it and they don't want to go in anymore. And for one, it's too expensive, and I think some of the staff that work in that shop are utter rude as well. Number 18, handing out silly manager contracts. Alan Pardew, an 8-year contract. Are you for real? If Alan Pardew won the Premier League or the Champions League, fair enough. But it's Alan Pardew. He got a 5th place finish. You know, it's nothing special, is it? Nothing special. It's something we should be doing anyway. It was an absolute joke. Steve McLaren was given a 3-year contract. A 3-year contract. A guy who, you know, was never really wanted to be touched in the Premier League. But somehow we gave him a job. 3-year contract for Steve McLaren. Oh, he's made so many dodgy decisions, Mike Ashley, as owner. Number 19, Alan Shearer. His treatment was very poor. You know, when he was given that time to try and keep the club up, which wasn't his fault, by the way, when we got relegated in 08-09, why did Mike Ashley not ring Alan Shearer up to say, right, okay, we'll give you a job, you know, as the manager in the Championship, and you can try and build your reputation, try and get the fans on board. Mike Ashley had a chance to try and rebuild some sort of faith with the Newcastle fans. I know Kevin Keegan resigned and that was poor enough, but the fact if Shearer had been given that chance, then who knows? Even maybe number 2 to Chris Hughton. Unfortunately, Chris Hughton got us promoted, which was fantastic, by the way. He stuck around, but Shearer, for me, should have been given that chance to try and build the club up, and who knows where Shearer could have been today. And last but not least, number 20, failing to sell the club. He's been trying to sell the club since 2008. If I'm not wrong, he got offered, was it 100 million when the TV rights weren't so high, and apparently he's turned it down. Yes, the TV rights have increased, and he's stayed for the sake of the fans, for the sake of what we put into the football club, the TV rights, and he's just got greedy, and that's why he knows now that now is the right time to sell up, knowing that there's no football anymore now for the foreseeable future. So that is my 20 reasons why Mike Ashley should sell the football club. Please let me know yours down below in the comments, and please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and like I always say, keep it tuned. Cheerio.
Shearer.